Hello, today is March the 2nd, 2024. Let's start with our disclaimer, go over our calls, and then make some predictions. It's my trading plan for Monday, which is March the 4th, 2024. Please remember my calls can be completely wrong, and any trade you make should be made at your own risk. Well, Friday's pattern we felt was the low-to-high pattern, has an early low, a late high, and tends to make a high at the end of the day, in the final hour. And that's what happened. Monday's pattern should also have an early low. We said the pattern wasn't as clear as I would like. The idea was we're making an ABC up. I didn't think the C wave up was complete. And one place the waves could balance out was at 5109. So far that still is a valid count. We went past 5109, and we have to see if there's a way to count the current advance and keep this idea intact. These are the patterns I expect to see next week. Friday is F23. It's one of Carol Ann's ways to call a possible change in trend. There's a 3-day window, and when you get a change in trend, it tends to be on these dates, but if you have a date, it doesn't mean there'll be a change in trend. When it rallies all day, can't close over the midday highs. It's a negative pattern if it's maintained. It means the last couple of hours went nowhere. Time doesn't run out until early Monday at the open. You open up here, that can substitute for this inadequate close. Otherwise, it's a negative pattern, should lead to a lower price. Doesn't mean we have to close lower. MEJT was complaining about this rally all the way up. It sets lower price targets. It sets lower ultimate targets. Ultimate targets don't have to print soon, but they nearly always will. The other ones print within a day or two. So we have targets of 5096.26, 5105.24, 5126.34, and 5127.61. It's a lot of non-confirmations from the MEJT system. If we gap up smartly, these prices remain, but not the time. If we don't gap up smartly, here's what I'm looking for: lower prices. This is the weekly chart. Now this is to mark stop loss on his combo sell signal. He interprets it loosely. That's a bit too much for me, but it still needs to be confirmed by going 1 cent past Friday's close. So if we gap down, that break does not count. I don't think gapping down is impossible. Well, let's review our wave count. This is my long-term count that call this low to the penny. There's a major league trend line here from the year 2000 at the top to the recent top. This hits that on the nose. There's right there. I mean, right on the nose, right on the nose. That's no accident. It's a major league trend line, goes back nearly a quarter of a century, and you have a strong rally up to the line. Strong rallies up to the line tend to stop at the line. Now, if you gap over the line, you've overcome resistance, and that we don't know yet. We'll know that Monday, I think. It's a weekly chart. But if you don't gap over that line should win, which means if you don't gap over the line and you go past it, it shouldn't stick. Let's focus in on the rally from last October. you can see from this rally that there's another trend line that we came right up to. We'll keep looking at that line, at that rally. Here's the wave count I'm using. We have this as 1, and the idea was we're making an ABC. So at some point, this should be the end of B, and we should have a C. Now, because A is short, I don't think C is going to be long. So I think any pullback here is going to be a minor pullback. But at some point, if this is the right count, and I think it is, at some point, we should pull back, even though it's a minor pullback in the scheme of things. That's the same chart. We'll try again. Well, here's where we are. We're focusing in. We're going to focus in on what's happened since wave 5. The idea was we could be making an expanded flat or a diamond. Let's focus in on what's happened since last month's high. Well, here's a 5-minute chart. You can count this as AB, and C is equal to A right there. So that's wave A of your ABC. Now, if that's your A of your ABC, you can have an A and have a B and a C, and these fibs work for blue A. That's a clear 3 waves down for B. And if you look at this, you have in red an A, B, C, with C equal to A right at the top. In wave blue C, and if you compare wave blue A of your blue ABC to wave C, if that's 50%, right at the close, you've got 2 times A. So this counts as an ABC with wave balance right at the high. And if you look inside this wave blue C, you have this ABC with balance. And if you look inside B, you have an ABC with balance. I mean, everything balances out. I mean, here's your ABC. A, C, they're equal. And wave B, A, B, C for red B. I mean, you've got balance of the waves. It doesn't mean it's the only way to count it. But certainly we stopped right at the trend line resistance. We have a valid count. We have lower target after lower target. Futures dropped about 6 points right at the close. I mean, it's pretty tough to stand in front of a freight train advance like this, but you've got resistance right here. You've got the wave count. You've got lower targets. If we're going to keep going up, we should gap up. And if we don't gap up, and particularly if we gap down, we should be making that wave C down. So, Monday's pattern has the early low regardless of where we open. The failure of Friday's close to overtake midday highs and the low to high pattern is negative if it's maintained at Monday's open. Should lead to lower prices even if we don't close lower. We have multiple lower MEJT targets, and that also signals a pullback as resistance at the high of day from a major trend line. If the rally is to continue unabated, we should gap over Friday's high, and failing that, we should trade lower. I believe any pullback here is going to be minor on a percentage basis, and if that happens, if we get that pullback, well, we will have completed an ABC. It doesn't mean it's the end of wave 2 up. We just can't determine the degree of that at this time. So if we don't gap over this, I think we'll trade lower. I don't think it'll be a collapse by any means. I think we have much higher to go. But this is a logical place for a pullback, even if I don't think it'll be a very strong one. It's the pattern with the early low, and that is today's call.